doing a live stream this morning. So I'm out on my early morning walk this morning, and I was having a few thoughts about a lot of things, especially things we see nowadays in this country. Specifically, when you see how divided people can be, how tribalistic people can be, you know, when they're confronted with thoughts or ideas or opinions that differ from good morning, from what they already believe. And I've come to the conclusion, I see posts on my Facebook, I see posts on social media, that people today are so tribalistic and indoctrinated in their own belief system that they only really value the things that they agree upon. If you challenge their ideas or their opinions about life, they have a serious issue with you. Let me switch the camera around. Morning. Out doing my early morning walk, getting in my steps for the day. What's going on, everybody? That fresh air. It's beautiful. Hey, good morning, folks. How y'all doing? Yeah, I have to get in my steps every day, man. Part of that self-care regimen. Hit the gym, hit my walk, get some relaxation done. Switch that around. There we go. But I definitely got to get in my steps in the morning. I talk a lot about in this channel about the self-care, self-preservation aspect of life, and especially with guys pouring into themselves, doing the things that you have to do for yourself, whether it be protecting your peace, protecting your mental health, all of those things. And that's something that I, you know, pride myself on maintaining. But I think what happens many times is that, especially today, you have to have those moments where you take a break from all of the things, especially social media. You know, obviously, you got to count your screen time and the amount of time you spend on the internet, especially the amount of content you consume. Because a lot of the things you have to ask yourself the question. Like, I could put a lot of rage bait content out. I could do a whole bunch of reaction videos, things of that nature. But it really comes down to, is any of these conversations really producing the solutions that we all desire in our lives? Especially nowadays. It's like a circle, a vicious circle with the content. Because the question becomes, after you've done listening to all the content, all of the information, how does that apply to solutions in our own personal life? So let me see what's up with the chat going. Hold on a second. Where we at? Where's the chat? Got to get this going. Hey, good morning to everybody who's coming in. There we go. Well, what the hell am I doing here? There you go. Switch that around. Get rid of this. Get rid of this awful green screen. Sorry, folks. I have to do some adjustment. There we go. There we go. That's better. I turned that green screen off. Accidentally turned it off. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I accidentally activated the green screen, which was funny, right? Old minute technology. But I shut it off. So we good. But anyhow, getting back to what I was saying, as we enjoy this beautiful walk, people only listen to confirm what their own belief systems are. See, I'm always challenging my thought process. Like the difference between me, I can be talked out of position with logic and reason. If you present me a logical, reasonable argument, because I'm going to sit there and listen to you. If it's fact-based, not based on emotions, and you can provide me with data, with evidence, not going to call you any names or say anything to you, what is the reason why you think the way you think? And I will examine your thoughts objectively and make a decision based upon the information you're giving me. Then I'll do the research and apply evidence or facts or information that you can find easily on the internet with Google, with any of these apps, or you can go to a library, or you can find objective information, not information that is confirmation bias, but just facts, information, and data and statistics, and examine those facts and come up with a logical conclusion. You see, that's the way how people, well, not all people, because people have always been tribalism. At some point, people used to do that, you know. But now, since these days, we've been completely divorced from reality. Now everybody is like a tribalist, or they try to silence people or demonize the people that we don't agree with. If somebody says something that you don't agree with, everybody wants to shut them down. You know, this person said something I don't like. I assume that they're affiliated with this, or they mean that. And then they shut them down without even giving careful thought and consideration to what they're talking about. And I think that's the sad reality that we see these days. Or we argue against fact because of who's saying the fact without examining the fact. So this is where we're at in 2025. But, you know, I run this particular channel is really designed about helping men, but it comes from the perspective of a background invention and dealing with many of the issues that we see nowadays, especially in the gynocentric environment. So that's what started this channel. It came out of the perspective of my background in crisis intervention and dealing with a lot of the issues, because I recognized early, even in my professional career, how systematically we've created a reality in this country, in this nation, you know, that seeks to just punish men just for being male, anti-masculine, this type of indoctrination that demonized and is just being purely evil just for being men, when this can be further from the truth. The majority of men are good, solid, law-abiding citizens, and are not monsters that are being depicted, or not out here doing things to people or whatever else. But we have a serious problem, especially in this country, with anybody that has an opinion that differs from ours, you know. And when there is a disagreement with the opinion, it can't be discussed in a respectable manner, you know. So that's where we're at now. So we see this often. Hey, good morning. How you doing? Hey. All right. Yeah, it's a nice, beautiful walk out here, man. Weather's nice. It's that perfect fall temperature that we got. I love it. Obviously, it's gonna get cold in probably another month or so. So I got to get the best of this right now. As you can see, Just turn the camera around. There we go. It's better. Trying to get the best of this before the weather changes. But I see that so often. You see people that, you know, they can't even sit at the family barbecue or enjoy dialogue. You know, that's why even on my social media, like my Facebook or Instagram, you can't catch me posting anything political. Like on my Facebook, on my Instagram accounts, I don't post nothing political, nothing that takes any political opinion or sides of anything. Because I understand that human beings live on these plantations. Me, I've been a registered independent for over a decade because they started looking the same to me. They all look the damn same to me. You know, all of them do the same thing. They support most of the same individuals at the top of the food chain. They make policy and whatever that is heavily influenced by those people. They all protect a certain tax bracket. At the end of the day, they establish laws that protect that. So there's no point of me. I look at things like that as a business decision. You know, it's purely a business decision. But this is where I get my early morning relaxation walk in. I try to get about 10,000 steps in the morning. So, and I try not to. So people ask me sometimes, well, why don't you do reaction videos? It's because most of the reaction videos are rage bait videos. Like, if you produce a lot of these rage bait videos, what exactly am I doing? Hey, good morning, how you doing? All I'm doing is making dudes' cortisol level go up, you know, ruining their health, absorbing that garbage, or finding the worst of the worst and putting it on social media. But it's the same thing, you know. That's why I don't like to do a lot of reaction videos, because it's easy for me to go on TikTok, Instagram, and find a whole bunch of degenerates or individuals with extreme views so that it can create a situation of rage, understanding how human nature works. You watch that crap, now your cortisol level is all spiked and shit, you know. But at the end of the video, what has changed? Not a damn thing. So what I do is I don't even waste my time with those videos. I'd rather do things like this, where you get some relaxation going, but still have the same conversation. Yeah. Good morning. How y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Yeah.
Come on, man.
So I can still have the same conversation without producing those types of videos, or videos where you have a bunch of women. Guys, make sure you hit the like button. Yeah. Make sure you hit the like button. So some of that videos and some of that content, it's easy for me to do that type of content because all you got to do is, you know, switch this around. Yeah, that's why I say I don't make those reaction videos, because what's the point? Get your cortisol level all worked up. Why would you even want to do that crap? Drive you to an early grave, listen to that garbage, listen to a bunch of chicken heads and women that you wouldn't date in the first place. Who cares about the opinions of individuals you wouldn't associate with in this real life? You see me out here in this beautiful park. I could care less about the opinions of chicken heads or anybody else in terms of that type of toxic type of information and content. It's great for views, but the question is, what is the end result? And it's the same thing with a lot of men's content and whatever else. It's like they say, well, how come you don't teach these men these pickup game and all that other stuff? And I'll tell them right off the bat, game is for the damaged women. Why would you want to be messing around with those types of women in the first place? Right? Why would I teach you or teach men how to fornicate with low quality women? For what? Or how to play games with women? It's a waste of time. Why? Those are the women you shouldn't be bothered with in the first. I could teach you how to protect yourself from that nonsense. But that's why I don't have these videos. You don't see me in these videos with women, even though I be with women. You don't, with a woman, you don't see me posting no women in these videos, because inevitably it all comes down to individual self-esteem and discipline. So I focus on individual self-esteem and discipline, because ultimately that's what's going to sink a man's ship. Is with how he sees himself, how he views his own life, how he feels about himself, is what's going to make or break him in this world. So if I got a bunch of content with women and all that bullshit, that means that now you're saying to yourself, your life is defined by whether you have a woman or not. Imagine if your life is so, your self-esteem as a man is so low that what happens to having a woman in your life is what's going to make or break you, or what's going to bring you some type of happiness or peace, as opposed to enjoying life on your own terms, building yourself, developing hobbies, finding peace in your own company. Could you imagine that? A man that's not happy in his own company? That means you hanging out with a degenerate. When you're alone, you with a loser. Like, if you don't like your own company, that means you're a loser. You hate yourself. And then you're going to find some means or method to compensate for your lack of love for yourself. So why not correct the problem in the first place, which is how you feel about yourself? And if you can develop that situation where you're in love with your own company, then women become easy. Yes, you need things like female nature, understanding how women think and how women operate, but that's part of proper socialization. But I'm not teaching nobody how to go out there and game women for what? Box? Absolutely waste of time. That time can be used in learning how to make money, how to invest, how to create this environment of financial freedom, how to how to improve your health, how to improve your overall life. Imagine that type of energy that it would take for a grown-ass man to walk around this earth playing games with women. I play 0 games with women. It's really have no time for it. When I could be enjoying the beauty of this world like this. Look at this. Who has time to be playing games with women? Or sitting around arguing with women or bullshit. Because at the end of these conversations, nothing changes. It's like having political conversations. What's the point of having certain conversations with people that you know their thoughts and their ideologies a certain type of way? You're not changing anybody's mind. So why even engage in these ridiculous conversations? Because they already believe what they believe. You're not going to change anything like that. So it's easy to make a certain type of content, I agree with you, Walt. He said a person has to not only like themselves, but learn to love themselves. It's not how the world views you, but how you truly view yourself. Absolutely. Yeah, because if a person feels lonely when they're alone, they're in horrible company. And I always ask people that question, why do you hate your company so much? That means that you got some unresolved issues. So why would I have a conversation about women With a man who can't even stand his own company, and he has to try and find happiness from external sources of individuals. Why would I waste? What, teach you some pickup game? For what? To pick up who? And what is the quality of the person that you're picking up? That's the question I would have to ask. What exactly are you trying to pick up? You know what I mean? Because if your goal is to become more successful with 304s, and you have to study, you have to buy some guy's course to figure that shit out, the last thing you need is pickup game. You may need a therapist. You may need a therapist. If you have to learn pickup game to get 304s, you need a therapist. Game is the last thing you need. You need a mental health professional, because it's the most useless information ever. That's a self-esteem issue. So, and that's what one of the bases of my channel was. It's crazy. I don't even understand some of these guys. I see guys sitting with dark shades and cars and just putting a bunch of trash out of their mouth, talking to guys who have issues, who have daddy issues and shit. Not dealing with the reality of anything. Because again, a dude, yeah, exactly. He said being successful with 304s is an oxymoron. They will get in the way of your success constantly. Absolutely. Because there's only 24 hours in the day. Look, I'm out here right now. It's 9:29 in the morning, right? There's not enough time in my day for me to be bullshitting around with low quality women. There's just not enough time. I'm 50 years old, be 51 soon. There's just not enough time in my day for me to be producing content, finding the lowest common denominator on TikTok, a bunch of mentally ill, damaged women, and doing reaction to it. Or go and start a podcast and get me a bunch of OnlyFans hoes and start a podcast arguing with women, and that raising my cortisol level, putting my old ass in the early grave. Hell no. To kick rocks with that. Ain't no money on this planet is gonna make me go start a podcast or walking around with a bunch of hoes. There used to be a time in this country, and the men's reality. What's up, my brother? Salute to you from Germany. It used to be embarrassing for a man to walk around in the daylight with 304s. Like literally. They'll be like, "Yo, peaceful life. Hey, good morning, how you doing?" Yeah. They'll be like, "A peaceful life. We saw a peaceful life yesterday with a hoe at 11 o'clock midday." Like, those are women that, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, dudes used to consume 304s in the dark. Past 11 p.m. at night, you'd be like sneaking, he pound out a 304 real quick. But these dudes are so lacking in masculinity nowadays. Dudes is walking around parading 304s in the days, making videos, making thirst videos. I don't watch none of that garbage. Like, yo, you dudes should be ashamed of yourself. But dudes don't have no shame no more. Like, yo, that's a 304. You seen on camera in the middle of the day with a 304? What's wrong with you? So you see me, I'm walking alone. Now, I'm not righteous. I would consume a 304 in the shadows of the night, but you're not gonna see me in the daytime with a 304. Hell no. I definitely ain't no angel, but it'll be a cold day in hell before you see me walking around in the middle of the day with a 304. It's just a code of masculinity that men used to live by. But now we got all these dudes on the internet selling that vomit game. Damn game. Some of these dudes need therapy. No damn game. They got self-esteem issues. They got issues with their masculinity, their manhood. It's like you know, prescribing an antibiotic for a virus. It don't work, you know. You got to get to the core and the foundation of what's wrong, you know. Exactly. You say, I'm my own best friend. Love me. Life is short for drama. I have more acquaintances than friends. Absolutely. See, the thing about life is this. You've got to make your life so good and so peaceful that every woman you see, or every woman you get in a relationship, or every person itself, is competing with your peace. When the competition is your peace, right? Imagine me just walking alone, chilling right now. Now, it took me a long time to get to this point in life where I'm peaceful, right? I enjoy it. I love it. I love the ladies too, don't get me wrong. But imagine, right? Let me take a seat here. Ah, beautiful. I love this park. But when competition is with your peace, imagine that. Imagine if somebody came and disturbed this view right now. This is my view right now, right? Beautiful Saturday morning. Imagine if somebody came, right? Imagine if I invited a woman into this reality and she's not a 5% woman, because all I care about is the 5% women. Everything else is, you know, get courteous and respect from me, but all I care about is the 5% women. Imagine having to compete with a man's peace. And that's what I try to teach the brothers. If you've established yourself and if you establish a life of peace, harmony, self-respect, it's hard for you to consume or have certain individuals come into your life and ruin what you've already built and what you've already established. But these guys seem to have this whole thing centered around pickup game and box and dating and relationship. I'd be like, yo, man. And they have these channels, you know, everything, sitting in these cars, telling men what they need to be to achieve women. I'm like, yo, man, that's crazy. That's like, in the current world that we live in right now, especially nowadays, when, especially women, I'm on to pick on women, but they're really taught to enjoy their youth. Get out here, enjoy their youth, enjoy the liberation that's out here, enjoy the sexual experiences. And when they get older, find some dude that they would not even touch when they were younger. And he becomes the cleanup man. And this is the type of system that's going on right now. And now because of the way the economy is, the relationship guy right now, it's like the 4th place finisher in this society that we live in right now. He's really the dumpster diver. The long-term relationship guy, especially nowadays, is nothing more than a pure scrap sexual. And I've made videos about it. If you're the relationship guy right now, you've been taking massive L's. And like, I don't want to, I'm pro relationships, but what's happening now, and we're seeing the consequences of people wanting to create their own rules in society and their own life. Because the old people, you know, of the past, when you have an environment where there's no rules and there's no structure and people do whatever the hell they want to do, there's consequences to that. You see it with consequences with the family, you see it with economic hardship, you see it with undisciplined behavior, you see with people not getting the outcomes that they want. And now what I see every day is that everybody's trying to, you know, create this new narrative, especially on these podcasts. And most of it is based on economics. You know, so women want to have certain relationships, and that's because they're experiencing hardships now. They're broke. And that comes back down to the thing. Do they really want to be under the leadership of men? What would a lifelong feminist want to be with a man for, other than to be under his wallet? That's why you see all these provider men, conversation and whatever else. They don't want to be under no man's leadership. They want to be under his wallet. Because as soon as you get into a relationship like that, they're going to move the goalposts because they don't want to be listening to your ass. You say, well, Larry say, as an OG, gents, boomer, I learned a long time ago, you dismiss what small-minded people tell you about pickup game. It holds no weight when you have self-happiness. But pickup game, now, what a lot of these dudes don't, they see, many of these dudes are broke, degenerate, low-achieving men. So a man spends his day creating an environment of success, right? And if you got all day long, who are women that you should be lying to them? I would ask these, or telling them anytime, who's women that you need to be sitting around deploying all of these tactics? I don't deploy any of these tactics. I have no time to be wasting. I'll look a woman right in her pupils and tell her what I think and keep it moving. And I think those are the men that women respect. But nowadays, what happens is a lot of dudes have figured out. First of all, we got into the monetized dating and relationship game, where women themselves, because of social media, because of the environment, because of feminism, have monetized relationships. Okay, so if we're dealing with monetized dating and relationships, where women are really focused on the money and what they can get out of men, because again, we're dealing with feminists, indoctrinated feminists, 60, 70 years of feminists. So really, most of them hate men, but they want the resources that come with having the protection and resources that come with having a man. So if that is the case, then the question is, what is the purpose of being with a man if you hate men? There has to be something out of it that you're getting, which is resources, right? Not all women. Well, okay, again, I focus on the 5%, but the reality is this: if that's the case, and women have been free and liberated for so long, they're going to date and be with who they want to when they're young. They're going to enjoy themselves when they're young. So when they're older, they're not looking for love or to be with a man they really care about. They're looking for a man for the purpose of providing a certain level of security and resources. So what is the game you're going to deploy on a woman who only values resources from you? Because she don't mess with you. The dudes that really mattered to her, she's already enjoyed them when she was younger. They didn't need no game. What game do you need for a woman that has burning, that likes you? If you have a woman that likes you, not only do you not need game, she will help you. She'll be so obvious in her actions and her behavior towards you. Game. If anything, you deploy game towards a woman that really like you, it'd be a wasteful effort because she's already selected you as a winner. So what game would you deploy towards somebody who's really invested in you, or, who actually gets with you, who actually F's with you, who actually likes you? What is the game you need for a woman that sees you as her sexual select preference, that likes you, that loves you, that wants to be with you? What kind of game would you have to deploy towards her? And that's the fundamental problem with all these goofy game coaches, is half of these dudes are just grifters, preying on the fact that a lot of boys have been raised without their fathers, poorly socialized in a gynocentric environment. And they know that. And they prey on these young men, they prey on them, and they prey on them over again. I tell them all the time, these young men, go look up Patrice O'Neill, go look up these guys that give you these, you can get a lot of information about female nature and how women operate. But ultimately, it's about how you feel about yourself. So, and what do you pour into yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you doing the things you need to do for you? You know what I mean? Are you doing it, not as, women might be a side effect of what you have, but are you doing the things you need to do for you? You say they will go away and not call you 10 times a day. True. Yeah. But I always ask the dude, like, what do you do for yourself? So if a young man asks me, he say, OG, how to get women, then I turn the conversations around towards him. So tell me, let me ask you a question. What is it you do with your day? How do you feel about yourself? Okay, when you're alone and nobody else is around you, what are you doing with your time? Before we even talk about women, are you taking care of your body? Are you investing your money? Are you learning valuable skills and resources that can put you in a good position in life as a man? You know, can you spend a whole month by yourself in your own company and feel good, feel comfortable? Can you do those things? Before you talk to me about women, I'm going to ask you those questions. Are you comfortable? Do you like yourself? Forget about women. Do you like yourself? I want to know, do you love and do you like yourself? Then I'm going to ask you to demonstrate to me the example of how you like your love yourself by how you take care of yourself, how you protect your resources. Those are the things I'm going to talk to you about before I talk to you about no women. So once you establish those things as a man, see, this is the problem we have now. See, masculinity needs to be developed separate from women, you know, and in an environment that we currently live in, you definitely have to be comfortable in your own company. You definitely have to do it. You better fall in love with your own company in the current environment that we live in, because you're going to be taking massive L's as a man. Why don't you like yourself? Is a question I'm going to ask. Don't ask me about no damn women. Why don't you like your own company? Because if you can establish that level of confidence and that level of self-esteem in your own company by yourself, that's the foundation that you're going to have. That's going to make you successful with women. And that's the problem I have with these game coaches, is that
Yes, 9:43. Excuse me. Good
morning. How we doing?
Good morning.
Morning. How you doing? They're not focused on the virus, which is low self-esteem. You know, that's what problem I have with these. Focus on the virus. Why does that young man feel the way he feels? Why does he think that having a woman is a successful achievement as a man? You know what I'm saying? It's not like you say, well, you know, you created this new scientific, technological invention that improves the lives of human beings, that make you a creator, a designer, a builder of something. No, these dudes is focused on hoes and women and shit. What a waste of a man's life. Shit, if you want box that bad, you can always go buy it. I mean, I hate to say it. That sounds terrible. I'm not a promoter of anything. You think any man who measures his life by having a woman or achieving box, stop listening to that man. You're wasting your time. That guy's a fool. If that's how he measures his life, by getting box and achieving box, and he wants to shame men, call them names and whatever else, you talking about a dude that ain't really doing anything with his life. You know what I mean? Any dude. When dude's like, oh man, look, you know, I get all these women. Man, get out of here. You low frequency, low self-esteem having, because you measure your manhood by women and getting box. Imagine how, I'm like, how old are you, man? Is getting box an achievement in your life as a grown-ass man? You know, and, you know, I wonder about some of these dudes. You know, he said women party my money away in my 30s. I was fun, but seriously, he set me back. Yeah, it's like, you know, like, if you don't have purpose in this world, man, if you don't have purpose in this world, purpose in your life, these relationships, you know, everything in life, you know, comes in its own, it's temporary. If you think about how temporary things are in life, everything, life itself is temporary. Imagine that. I mean, today you can remember it, like even now when I sit here, I can remember the times when I was 21, 22 years old. Now I'm like 50. So everything is temporary. If you look at how many relationships I've been in, how many situations have come and go, most things are temporary, except the way you look at it every day in the mirror. That's not temporary, that's permanent. Maybe your kids are permanent, your family members are permanent. And, you know, life itself is temporary. And that's the thing about what a lot of people don't get. Life is temporary. Shit has come. Relationships come and go. But you're always going to be living with yourself. Every day you're going to live with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror. And that's, you know, I wonder about some dudes. Again, And I always talk about outcome, right? Because again, solutions don't make money. And there's no profit in people not being victims, you know? Solutions themselves are not profitable. And that's why so many people like keeping people in a loop, endless loop with no solutions, because it makes profit. Because you empowering yourself ain't gonna make no money, you know? So if I keep you believing that you have to sit around and listen to some goofy ass game talk, you don't know what I do in my own. See, what do I do when I'm not on YouTube? Am I living any of the things that I talk about? That's the question you got to ask yourself with this person. Sitting in the car, talking to you with these dark shades on. What do they do in their personal time? Because most of these, good morning, folks. How y'all doing? You know, most of these YouTube content creator will not survive a background investigation check. You listen to a guy, he's talking to you about game this, find out he living in his mama's basement. Or he borrowed his cousin's car to make a video about game. And he broke his shit trying to sell game to young boys who grew up without their fathers. Good morning. How y'all doing? Yeah. Yeah, like who are you? So the question is, who are you listening to? And you have to ask yourself questions about this YouTube stuff, man, because YouTube doesn't require like a background investigation for somebody to become a content creator, right? So you can have a whole bunch of goofy dudes on the internet selling you crap about, I like to see receipts. You know, I can show you receipts of me enjoying my peace. You can look right there. There's a receipt. You see, this is my view. This is where I'm sitting in a beautiful park, relaxing, chilling. Okay, this is where I'm at. But you can have a whole bunch of content, and that's why you see when you see all these YouTube content creators get exposed and all this other bullshit. Find out they was selling a fraud. They got either they got criminal records or freaking baby mama issues or drama and problems, but they trying to lecture you about how you're insufficient or insecure as a man, or how you're not doing the things you need to. They're trying to give you information or lecture you about you need to get my game course, buy my game course. You get out of here. So what? So I can go pick up some hoes? The hell out of here, man. Hey, what's up, man? So I can become what? A connoisseur of 304 activity. Who would want to infect their life with that mediocrity? What kind of fool walks around all day long trying to pick up a bunch of women, getting flattened down, getting smashed like a fly, knowing that these women are hooked on some social media delusion? Why would I tell young men to walk around when they can just, obviously there's social networking and social situations. Probably is the best way to meet people still, despite this internet, is being social. And where you can see the person in their true personality and who they are, not their representative. Because anybody can pretend to be anybody in this short period of time. But when people in their natural environment, around friends or they're not, they say they act according to the way they behave in real life. And so why would I teach young men, especially young men 18 to 30, that stupid ass game shit when I should really be talking about their self-esteem and issues with the development of their manhood and their masculinity? Because it's very hard to really, even for a woman, to really take advantage of a man who truly loves himself. Whether his father has taught him that love, or taught him how to take care, taught him how to have discipline, self-respecting, respecting yourself. It's very hard for women to come in and take advantage of that guy, especially when he's been properly socialized. Again, if it's a deficiency in social development and psychological issue that exists, what the hell is game gonna do for a young man who doesn't like himself? Because sooner or later you're going to get exposed, right? If you have low self-esteem, sooner or later you're gonna get exposed. Women are intuitive and they can smell your inner simp. So why not fix the problem itself instead of trying to, mask it with mouthpiece garbage? Because again, real confidence takes a lot of hard work. A lot of hard work. Oh, you're like, well, peaceful life, we don't got no game. Okay, discipline is more important than game. Let me see you go 5 days without eating. Let me see can you last 5 days without eating food, not with proper hydration. Because the power comes in your ability to say no and walk away from bullshit, right? Can you last 5 days without eating? If you can last 5 days without eating, you can manage women. It's easy to deal with women if you can go 5 days without eating. You can fast for 5 days, you know, it's crazy. If you can fast, if you can fast for 5 days, you can be successful with women. It's very simple. It's difficult to, because the discipline is what sinks men. Discipline is what brings men, what sinks men. It's the damn discipline, man. So, you want to talk about, if you ask me about what game, I might take you on a 5-mile run. Or I might say, we're going to go on a fast together for about 5 days. And this will help you with your woman problem. If you can practice discipline, then you can learn how to deal with women. And that's what's missing from this conversation. Because if you learn all this mouthpiece shit, but your self-esteem and at the core you're weak, it's like everything else. It's like when you deal with sports, where does injury happen the most? In the environment where it's weak. What if you have weak calves? You're going to have calf injuries. So weak muscles around your knees, it becomes easier to get injured. So wherever you're weak at is where you're going to get injured the fastest or the quickest. So if the core of your manhood is built on toilet paper, then you're going to have a problem with women. If you can't stay by yourself for 30 days in your own company without even worrying about what women are doing or what's going on with women, you're never going to be successful long term. Discipline is what's really at. So I focus on the thing that matters the most, which is for the young man, is discipline. Discipline. And when you have discipline and when you value yourself and you have self-esteem, you don't do goofy shit like peacocking for women or trying to, put yourself in debt to impress a bunch of women or people that don't even give a damn about you. And it's a lesson that you have to, instill in these young men. And again, we deal with a situation. We have 3 generations of young men now raised in these houses without strong fathers. It's tough. It's a tough game, you know what I mean? It's a tough situation. Yeah, it's a tough situation. It's like even when I coach basketball, we'd have like a 5-6 o'clock in the morning hill run. And I said, well, coach, what does this have to do with basketball? So what is us up in the morning at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock have to do with basketball? I say it's not about basketball, it's about discipline. It's about conditioning, it's about discipline, it's about developing a mentality. Because if you watch any good team, most good teams, basketball teams, again, they rest on offense. If you watch Villanova or you watch any of these good teams, or the Georgetown teams of the past, most good teams rest on offense. But their defensive, you watch Baylor when they won the national championship, their offense is potent. But most good teams, basketball teams especially, rest on offense. And even you see some kids when they can play, you put them out on the court, they got, their offensive game may be a certain way, but if you can't stop nobody, you're going to end up on the bench. And it's terrible. Yeah, it's terrible. So you have to develop your. It's a development phase that has to change based on the reality of what we live in today currently. You know, you have it's a whole different environment that we live in now. So you have to adapt and adjust to really deal with the environment that we're currently in. And we have to accept we've had, you know, 60 plus years of this radical mindset and mentality that has existed in the culture. And nobody gives a rat's ass about the outcomes that we see that's happening to men. They don't care. And as a dude, you know they don't care about you. So what do? You have to care about you because they're not going to change. The world's not going to change and adjust for you. Hell no. Why? Because they understand the spending that's done in this world. Women do 80% of the spending. So who are they going to adjust and adapt to, cater to? It's certainly not going to be you as a man. So you have to understand that, and you have to adapt to the environment around you, and then you have to master that environment. And that's what really comes down to. But I think that's the thing that's missing from a lot of these coaches is not really teaching the disciplined mindset, the mentality, the self-esteem. Self-esteem has to come from the individual, but I'm saying the things that you can do in your life to create that environment where you pour so much energy into yourself and you put so much value in your peace that anything that comes in your environment that's extremely toxic, it automatically gets rejected. If you put so much value in your peace, like for instance, I'm out here right now chilling, just did my workout, you know, I just did my workout, whatever. I'm right now chilling, just talking to you guys, right? If you look at my view, right? If I were to go home, if I was to go to my home right now, or if I was to meet a woman right now as I walk along this pathway, and she came at me and we talked, and I'm killing her with kindness and courtesy as I am respectful, and she provided some toxic energy towards me because I'm so comfortable in my manhood, my masculinity, and my peace that immediately she's competing with this. You see what I'm saying? She's competing with that, right? So I don't care what she looks like. If she's competing with that, then automatically, because of how I feel about myself, she's going to get rejected if she disturbs the comfort and peace that I've already established in my life. And I think that's the point where men have to get to. You know what I mean? And again, and that's not going to happen with me parading around a bunch of women and shit. Some of these dudes get the hired professionals they walking with. Like, yo, come on, man. And, it's like, what the hell? I mean, we've all, come on, man. So that's where you got to get to the point where now in 2025 as a man is you got to get to the point where you really, really comfortable with your own company. And it really gets to that point. You got to get to that point. Dudes got to the world has changed. Stop living in the past. Dudes need to stop living in the past. Stop living in the past. That shit is over with. It's done. It's over with. And you keep going back to the past and living in the past and shit, But now you got to be careful nowadays too because of the economy. The economy. Let me tell you something. And much respect to the ladies. Women are survival creatures. Women are creatures of survival. You're going to get that soft girl era back. You're going to get all that gaslighting and that bullshit and that pretending to give a rat's ass because of the expenses and the bills that's out here today. Today, inflation ain't going nowhere. We got tariffs. We got things with the economy. Housing pricing ain't really going down. The cost of building things is expensive. Land is expensive. Everything costs money. And, and some women out here, not all, a good percentage of them are looking for a hero. And it's usually that woman that wouldn't have dated certain men when they were in their 20s. And they're looking for that individual so they can be under his wallet, not his leadership. They're looking for that dude that's going to be the last pick of the draft. And, you know, one of the best things a woman can tell you right now in 2025 is that you're not marriage material. If a woman told me I'm not marriage material, I almost want to give her a hug. You don't want to be that guy, because the moment they define you as marriage material, that means that you are the sucker in 2025. Because they what? Are you after you've experienced all these men, now you want to say this dude is marriage material? Really? Really? Yeah. You don't want to be marriage material in 2025. You don't want to be that. You know. I always talk about it. You know, this is a dumpster diving, scrap sexual environment. It's like dudes are like, I'm like, come on, man. Hey, good morning. How you doing, sis? Yeah. This is a strange environment that we're in, man. This is a strange environment. This is a scrap sexual environment. I don't care. This is terrible. I mean, sexual liberation, 60 plus years. You understand the mindsets and the minds that you're dealing with in 2025? And you gotta understand, like, this stuff starts early. You got the colleges, you got the high schools, you got the fraternities, you got the campus life. People, when they're single, they're not exactly being celibate. They're not celibate. Even single women, especially, they're not celibate. They're getting, again, everything is temporary nowadays. I hate to see that. Even marriage is temporary. I mean, people have been married 2-3 times, or shit. Relationships, and wherever you meet, they've been with somebody before. They've all been with somebody. Everybody has. Ain't nothing new being discovered. You know, nothing new being discovered. There ain't nothing. Everybody's, so I look at most things as temporary. You know, even me sitting in this park here is temporary. And good morning, ladies. How y'all doing?
Good morning.
Good morning.
0.45 miles.
Yeah, everything is temporary. You know, everything is temporary. Relationships, temporary. Temporary. I hate to say it. And again, we deal with reality. Reality doesn't care about how we feel. But most things in life nowadays is completely temporary. It is. And that is the culture that's been created, that exists now. Not everybody lives that way. I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong, but this is the reality of what we live in today in 2025. And, but like I said, one thing is consistent is you. And you can only control the things that you can control. You control you. I can control me. Easy. Everybody else's opinion, I can't control. And everybody thinks that I take a political position or whatever. I've always been more of a libertarian type individual, where I believe in freedoms and small government and people living life on their own terms, as long as it doesn't affect the lives of individuals and others that are, as long as your actions are not affecting the lives of innocent individuals, or you're not pushing your belief systems on people, I got no problem with you. But that's where we at in this current society, in this current environment, is that, one, you can't tell people nothing nowadays. It's very complicated. Like I said, I don't even worry about putting certain posts out there or whatever else on certain type, Let's see, Matrix, I'm so depressed on my life, thinking to give it up. Let me tell you something, man. You know what I do when I have a certain feeling in life, or certain way? There's these documentaries, right? These documentaries that they have on Africa, right? I forgot what it's called. But when you look at these documentaries, you see people riding on these trains, trying to get places to make food or to sell their goods at market. What's the documentary called that I watch all the time? It's on Africa, and you observe the level of suffering and poverty and the struggles that these individuals have to go on a daily basis. I'm thinking about it right now. Something documentaries. I used to watch it back in the day. And when you observe the life of individuals in this world and the suffering that it takes just to eat, just to live, just to survive, and you say to yourself, and you look and you examine your own life, you know, and you examine everything that's going on in your life. And we all have real problems, we all have real issues. Oh, I'm thinking about the word. The channel that I usually watch. It puts everything in a perspective about what's in front of us. What's that called? Man, I hate when I lose train of thought. But I think the internet itself opens up so many different avenues. What's that? I suppose Maya tree. And it helps a lot. And also too, I always recommend my brother, the kosher clinician. I'll leave a link in the description for those individuals that are having certain issues with depression or mental health issues. I always recommend my brother, the kosher clinician, especially when you talk about men, because men's issues don't get the recognition or the treatment that it's really required. Because everything, especially most of these therapists now, they always come from like I said, I recommend you reach out to my brother, Major, the kosher clinician, and have a conversation with him, because like I said, you want to deal with a professional, especially that, that's going to help deal with those issues. Yeah. Is it Frontline Documentaries, you said? Yep. I'll put his link in the description for the kosher clinician. And again, a lot of that stuff, like I said, Frontline Documentaries. When you watch that stuff, let me tell you something. Watch Frontline Documentaries on YouTube. Let me tell you something. You watch an hour of that, it'll get you out walking in a beautiful park like this. Let me show you something. It'll get you outside, and you watch that stuff. I'm telling you right now. When I'm ever having a down moment, I watch that Frontline Documentaries. I watch that stuff, and let me tell you something. Right off the back, it snaps me out of whatever I'm in. What's up, man? Gunmetal USA. I watch that Frontline Documentaries, man. My problems become so small in this world. I get my ass up and go to the gym. I get my ass up and walk my 10,000 steps. And man, that's what you gotta do. Watch that shit. That stuff will cure a lot of the depression or sadness a man has. You watch that Frontline Documentaries and you see what the world, because what happens in the West, because we have so many attacks on manhood and masculinity, it's easy for a man to feel in the toilets, because it's these constant hits. It's like a conveyor belt of hits to a man's self-esteem and masculinity on a daily basis. You're getting you in the West, your self-esteem is literally getting battered every day, from the commercials, from the TV, from the shows, from the attitudes towards men, from the attitudes towards everybody in life and things in life. It's a constant beatdown in the West, and to the point where it's like chipping away and eroding the bricks of manhood and masculinity. And we've been doing it for years in this culture. But again, that's not going to change. So you got to have to get what you need. And the guy say Frontline Documentaries. Yeah, I watch that shit all the time, man. Let me tell you something. That get my ass out exercising. You see me today? One sample of that shit, and I'll be out here running. I forgot Frontline. I put the link in the description. Frontline documentaries. Let me tell you something. Whatever you feel like that day, you'll be up in this park doing some sit-ups and some push-ups and shit. You'll be running. You know that will snap you out of whatever. And that, and obviously I recommend my man, the kosherclinician. But that gets. I watch that shit. I'm out the door. I'm at the park. I'm at the gym. You watch that stuff, man. You be like, man, you don't even worry about these women out here. You be like motivated, inspired for the day. You see all the beautiful things in your life. Because I think what happens inevitably in this environment right here, we're focused on the things that we don't have or what's not going our way. But trust me, if you live in America or you live in the West, especially in a country like this, if you really focus deeply, I understand there's a lot of psychological attacks that come at men, but it's always good. And this is why I always recommend too, a lot of times what a lot of dudes can benefit from is global travel. Like when I travel certain places, you go to the villages and you go to certain places around the world, especially in the Far East, and you examine the conditions, the conditions that you see in this world, is that you really get a world perspective of life. And you examine how the things that people go through in life around the world. I think a global travel is necessary to recalibrate. You got to recalibrate, and especially for young men and men in general, it lets you recalibrate life and really examine these things fully, because then I think you can see the manipulation that's going on in the minds and the hearts. Good morning, ladies. How y'all doing? I don't know how old you are, but that's if you're that young, but again, that's one of those things. But anyhow, you say you love World War II docs. They reground you. Band of Brothers, once in a while, it's nice too. Yep, you gotta really watch some of these documentaries. It really helps get you grounded and it hits the reset button. It really does. Man, I can remember. I'll find the documentary, put it in the description, especially when I get back to the house. But anyhow, let me pick up my pace on this walk. I wish you guys a wonderful day. I'm going to head on out of here. Give my last view. So I'm out, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys supporting the chat. I'm out.